Welcome back to the Adventures of the Monad, in which we look at life, the universe, and everything. My name is Kazim Kamal-ur-Rahim. In this series, I ask the question, where do we come from? Who are we? And where are we going? I post one presentation a week. Please subscribe to my website and hit the bell icon for notification of future videos. You can also leave comments and join in forum discussions on my website. In the last presentation, I started to look at the laws of life and cover the laws of freedom, the laws of unity, and the laws of development. We need laws to develop order from chaos. We need laws to help us expand our consciousness. We need laws to govern how we interact with our environment and each other. For this reason, it is worth spending time to understand the most important laws that affect us humans as we traverse the fourth kingdom of nature. Before I start to elucidate the remaining four laws, I wish to quickly recap the first three. The laws of freedom govern how you live your life and interact with others. It is a universal law that we have the divine right to do whatever we want. The kicker is that we cannot stop anyone else doing what they want either. Clearly, there is a conflict here that needs careful adjustment to how you conduct yourself in your pursuit of freedom. The law of unity basically says we are all one, whether we like the idea or not. We can choose not to like it and eventually end up becoming a black magician. But I would suggest this is ultimately a fruitless course of action. Why? Because the law of unity reminds us that at the end of the day, we make up one giant collective. Even the black magician has to return to the fold, even if it means that he has to recycle through the mineral kingdom again. The law of development is unambiguous in its intent. All of life must and will strive for perfection. If it is a foregone conclusion, can we just sit back and await the final outcome? Alas, nothing is ever as simple as that. The impetus to develop has to come from us, but there is an inescapable pull that allows us to expand our consciousness subjectively half a plane ahead of where we are objectively conscious. This law operates in all the kingdoms of nature. Every monad gets called home. Now to the law of self. The law of self on the surface is a tough law. It says we are all responsible for our own development. And here we were thinking that a phalanx of angels was going to waltz over the horizon and blaze a path for us. Well, in reality they do. But we still have to walk the path. We have to get the t-shirt, buy the video, and lick our own wounds. This is the result of all the scrapes we are bound to get ourselves into as we develop our consciousness. The trick to developing yourself is to show willing. The more effort you put in, the smoother the path before you becomes. We incarnate to have experiences and learn from them. In the process, we acquire qualities, abilities, and knowledge about life and the nature of reality. All these factors contribute to the development of consciousness, which is the sole purpose of existence. Ponder that thought. People often muse, what is it all about? Well, here is your answer. The monad starts off unconscious, but with the potential to be conscious. The unfoldment of that consciousness eventually spans the width of the whole universe. Not a bad achievement for the smallest particle in the cosmos. In the lower kingdoms, we are guided by the common instinct of the group soul. I have not really elucidated on how this process works. I spoke about it from a matter perspective, where envelopes were shared with the group, but over time they are acquired by the monad for themselves. The guidance of the group soul is controlled by devas, Who else do you think would be involved? In the human kingdom, we have individual souls. For soul, read individual mental bodies. More importantly, we have the highest 3 subdivisions of the mental body handed to us on a plate. We do not need to make these as the human stream had to do in previous chains. Lucky us. The downside of having your own soul rather than a group soul is that you have to find your way through life. But I hear you cry, what about our guardian angels? Surely they help. Yes, they do, but only in the planning of the environment of our incarnation. Remember that law of freedom. Your guardian angel cannot interfere with your choices. There may be a judicious selection of opportunities on offer for you to choose from, but at the end of the day, you buy the t-shirt and you have to wear it. We slowly build up a library of knowledge and experiences. We use this gained knowledge to orientate ourselves and discover our place in the greater scheme of things. This may seem like a dim possibility for most of humanity, but remember the law of development. We all have to develop, no matter how many blind alleys we choose to go down in the process. It is only in the latter stages of the human kingdom that we actively set about acquiring the knowledge that is needed to develop the highest qualities. We need these refined qualities to aid our entry into the fifth kingdom. There is no escaping the fact that the law of self is all about us acquiring all the knowledge, wisdom, abilities, and experience needed to develop ourselves. Why is this so important? Why not just spoon feed us or allow us to say a few Hail Marys and then get the prize? The reason is that we must become self-reliant, independent thinkers. Remember, the Sanskrit root of our name is the thinker. We must wean away from our reliance on scriptures and experts to provide us with the answers. Standing on your own 2 feet may have been a skill you thought you achieved when you were a toddler. Metaphorically, how many of us stand independently by our own thoughts and ideas? Now I know I have said that we cannot have original thoughts. They start in the fifth kingdom. We can, however, synthesize a coherent framework that allows us to better understand the world in which we live and operate. Welcome to Hylozoics. It should be noted that advanced beings respect the law of self and rarely intervene in our daily lives. Take with a pinch of salt the pronouncement from people that God told them to do this or that. God is far too busy organizing his stamp collection to bother telling us what clothes to put on. Notwithstanding what I have just said, there are possibilities for us to receive guidance. This only happens when we have proved ourselves sufficiently enough. Then and only then does the planetary hierarchy seek to guide us through the final stages of the human kingdom. In fact, this guidance is obligatory. All true knowledge comes from higher levels of consciousness. If we think we can walk around the emotional plane gaining wisdom, we really will get ourselves into a pickle. If we think we can manage the whole process by ourselves, we become black magicians. The journey we are on through the human kingdom is one of self-realization. We move from ignorance to omniscience. We rise from impotence to omnipotence, and we leave the shackles of bondage behind to liberate ourselves from the cycles of rebirth. The pace we proceed at is decided by ourselves. However, if we fail to keep up with the group, we tend to get a nudge in the right direction by the agents of destiny and karma. If we really cock things up, we may have to be put into limbo to wait for another life stream. We then get the opportunity to continue with our development. It is all well and good to discover the truth about ourselves, but knowledge alone is passive and useless. For it to have any value, it must be applied in daily life to become active and useful. Experience is the only path to wisdom and understanding. Wisdom can only be gained down here on earth rather than floating around in a subjective bubble of our own imaginings on the mental plane. Through time, great minds have philosophized about this and speculated about that. But where has it got them? Most mental gymnastics does little to further our evolution. It is only when knowledge is applied that we have the opportunity to realize things for ourselves. This turns mere knowledge into timeless wisdom. It should be noted that applied knowledge activates higher levels of consciousness. It is a truism that experience is the greatest teacher of all. This is where the lesson is really learnt. Self-analysis, introspection by another name, allows us to ascertain our strengths and weaknesses, and from this our true level of development. It is the process of introspection that gives attention, and by attention I mean energy, to develop positive attributes. So I hope by now you have a clearer understanding of what the law of self is all about, and that it really is about you and how you tackle life. On to the next law. Our lives seem to be to ride on a wave of coincidences that seem to pop up out of nowhere. Wherever they come from, these influences we call our destiny. The law of destiny is a real force in our lives and determines what influences enter into our life path. The purpose of this destiny is to ensure that we encounter the experiences that are required for our continual development. So how should we view destiny? Destiny is essentially a series of opportunities that enable us to learn lessons. In this manner, we acquire new abilities. We are also able to develop our consciousness capacity and help others at the same time. It is often the case that people confuse destiny with fate. What is fate? Fate is a fixed timeline of events that is inevitable and unchangeable. Is this what destiny is all about too? I propose that destiny and fate have different meanings and outcomes. Fate is usually regarded by people as being a series of events that are set in stone. Fate is often also seen as a series of negative outcomes. The action of fate is to determine and order the course of events. The consequence of this is that events linked to fate are meant to be. They are invariably set in motion by external forces. Destiny, on the other hand, is less fatalistic and can be considered more of a likely outcome than an absolute certainty. Destiny is also seen in a more positive light, with helpful outcomes. So destiny can be thought of as a force that guides us towards specific goals. It is not served up to us on a plate. We are required to actively participate in the unfoldment of that outcome. Is there a way to compare and contrast destiny and fate in a sentence? Simply put, destiny is opportunity and fate is karma. We control our destiny but have no control over our fate. This means that destiny cannot be forced on us. That is what fate delivers. The reason that destiny has the ability to have positive outcomes is because it allows us to turn a situation to our advantage. In this manner, we accomplish things through our own effort. The net result of this mode of action is that destiny is designed to give us the best opportunity for developing our consciousness. Isn't that what life is all about? Destiny should be regarded as an outline, not a script. It should not be seen as a set of outcomes that detract from our free will. The basic outline of our lives are planned. In this way, it can be said that our lives are predestined. This planning occurs before we take incarnation. Depending on our level of consciousness development, this is either done by our guardian angel solely or in collaboration with ourselves. It should be noted that the lords of karma and agents of destiny get a big say in any planning. Whatever the route plan ends up being, it is there to give us the right growth opportunities. Even after all this careful planning, we are not required to follow the route chosen. Perhaps a more fitting example of our destiny as it unfolds through our life plan is that of a maze. Our challenge is to find our way through that maze and complete it. This is an exciting journey. We do not know where we are going or where we will end up. To traverse this maze, we need to proceed using our best judgment. We will make wrong turns that lead to dead ends. If we make the right turn, we find our journey progresses. Do not make the mistake that what is deemed to be right can always be measured in physical terms. Often, the best outcomes are related to the further development of our consciousness. Consider this possibility. We may make the wrong decision. Is all lost? No, not if we learn from that mistake. It may end up that this mistake was actually the right path to take. As we walk our path, it is not that difficult to deviate from it. When this happens, we usually get coaxed back onto it. However, the further we stray from the path, the harder the lesson is going to be to get us back on the straight and narrow. The conclusion to draw from this is that every choice we make affects our future and our destiny. Another sobering thing to be aware of is that whatever you are experiencing right now is the destiny and karma that was laid down by your past choices. As an aside, yes, it's time for another one of those. I mentioned previously that we enter our life's maze without really knowing where we are going. This does not have to be the case. This is where a carefully drawn up astrology or numerology chart can come in very useful. I personally work along the numerology line. I can look at a person's name and date of birth and draw up an outline of what the soul has come into incarnation to try and achieve. Not only that, but what the principal challenges are going to be. Through many charts that I have cast, the feedback that I've got is that having a map of where your life is going is better than proceeding blindly. It can also indicate why, when walking down a particular passage in the maze, you appear to be getting nowhere. When you see your map, you know why. Suddenly, what was viewed as just fate can be seen in the context of destiny. Collectively, human destiny is largely decided by the planetary hierarchy. The biggest hitters in this game are the Manu and the Mahakohan. On a personal level, our destiny is largely decided by our guardian angels. Our destiny is obviously prescribed by the bigger events we may be living through. The role of our guardian angel is to stand in for what is deemed to be our higher self. This occurs until we become fully conscious in our causal bodies and enter into the fifth kingdom of nature. As we evolve, we take greater charge of our destiny, and there comes a time where our guardian angel can only guide us if we let it. My advice to you is, let it. Contrary to many popular beliefs within the esoteric community, the greater evolution of the cosmos does not work on a predetermined plan. Only the final goal is laid down, and that is set by the law of development. Can you remember what that was? The law of development states that we all have to develop, whether we like it or not. The only predetermined outcome, as per law, is that all monads are compelled towards acquiring omniscience of the whole cosmos. It is the process of evolution itself that creates the conditions and possibilities for growth. Although the conditions are universal, they vary depending on the character of the beings involved. It may be a one atom, a planet, or a solar system. An important take-home point about the law of destiny is that the past limits the possibilities of the future. If the plan was rigid, it would fall foul of another universal law, that of freedom. You could say that destiny is the mechanism that allows evolution to feel its way forward along every conceivable path. This allows every single monad, and all monads together, to find the most purposeful path for themselves. Now, I am left with the last two laws of life to describe to you. The law of karma is going to take more than one shot. See you in the next presentation. If you wish to read a transcript of the presentation or leave comments, links to my website are in the description box below. Thank you.